Hello and welcome to another episode of Nightcap with Nightcat, the kitsch-minded show where we talk about toys, boys, and life's other joys. I am your host, Nightcat. Thank you so much for being here. I am so excited that you tuned in for episode 31. All right, I guess we got to talk about a little bit, don't we? Y'all know that I work for a company called Scales and Tales, and usually I bring in an animal to feature every week. And I have been getting a lot of questions about something that happened over the weekend. There was an alligator bite. One of our handlers, her name's Lindsay, she's a very good friend of mine. She got her hand bitten by an alligator, and the video has gone viral. I mean, it's everywhere. So I'm not going to play it here because, you know, it's a video that stresses me out, and I don't want to watch it. So, but if you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. I wish I had a whole lot to say about it, but I just don't really have a lot to say. Number one, I was working that day at Scales and Tales, but I am a traveling entertainer. So I get the animals at the shop and I take them out to like fairs and libraries and schools and birthday parties and that sort of thing. So I was out at the Juab County Fair in Nephi, Utah, like way out there. It was a big travel day for me. And by the time I got back to the shop after my shows at the fair, the incident had happened like an hour or two before I got there. So I wasn't there when everything went down, and I only know as much as you know from watching the video. Like, realistically, I feel like people are hounding me for some hot gossip, some hot insider details about what's going on, and like, the whole thing's on video. What do you want from me? I don't have anything that you don't have, really. Here's what I kind of feel about the whole thing. Man, I have worked at Scales and Tales like 4 or 5 years, and the thing about working with dangerous animals is that you always have to assume that they're dangerous, you know? Like, I love those animals. I think they're fantastic, incredible, wonderful creatures, but I am not under any assumption that these are cuddly, cutesy little creatures that'll let me get in with them and tickle their bellies. Like, I know that these are dangerous animals. And we know that with this job, there is an inherent risk that something could go wrong. And you can follow every protocol, you can do everything you're supposed to do, and occasionally something goes wrong. And that's why it's imperative to continue to train yourself, to continue to practice, be mindful, be very aware and focused on what you're doing. These are all things that I was trained to do while working with these animals. I've fed Darth Gator before. I've worked with Darth Gator since like I first started. He was the first alligator that I ever worked with. And he, you know, is an amazing creature, but occasionally things don't go the way that they're supposed to. Mostly, out of everything, I'm just very grateful that my friend Lindsay is okay. She's the one who got her hand bitten. Her hand is okay. Now, if you want more information or continued updates, I would suggest checking out the Scales and Tales Instagram page. They have been posting updates about Darth, about Lindsay, about the situation. That's gonna be your best news source because they're the ones handling it. I haven't even worked at all this week. I haven't worked since that happened because I'm only part-time. So if you want like the details are gonna be whatever Scales and Tales is putting on Instagram. So look at Scales and Tales Utah on Insta. And in the meantime, let's just keep pulling for Lindsay. Let's hope that she recovers okay. And she's one tough cookie, so I'm sure she's gonna be fine. But, oh, I was so scared for her. I couldn't even imagine. Poor baby. And with that, I think it's time for us to get into the litter box.
Ew, what stinks in here?
The litter box is the part of the show where I dig into the stupid news and I only bring you back the best stuff. And I want to get started over in the UK. A British woman was swimming in a lake when her prosthetic leg came off and sank to the bottom. Despite their best efforts, she and the group of people she was with could not locate the leg. And she posted about it on Facebook. She was like, please, I need help. I need to find my leg. Somebody please come help me. And it came across the desk, the timeline, whatever, of a man by the name of Angus Hosking. He is the founder of the Lake District Diving. And basically, he volunteers his time to go help people look for their lost stuff at the lake. So when he saw this, he was like, I gotta get down there and help. So he reached out, they went down there together so she could point out kind of where she lost the leg. And he goes under the lake and he just starts sort of sweeping. He said that the visibility in the lake was so bad, he didn't really see it until he was right on top of it. And then it was just like, oh, there's a foot. Actually, what he said was, I looked down and I see a Birkenstock down on the foot and I thought, oh, that must be it. Yep. Wouldn't that be wild though if that wasn't it? If he just found an entirely different prosthetic leg, brought it up, and she goes, no, but I guess thank you for the effort. She was reunited with her leg, and she was eternally grateful that Angus was able to help her. I just love that story so much. And speaking of things found in the water, or I suppose now this is things found just outside the water, Utah is facing a huge drought, and I actually drove past Echo Reservoir on my way to a reptile show not too long ago, and the reservoir is like, I've never seen it that low. I've driven past that thing a million times, and I've never seen it so low in my life. I couldn't believe it. Like, my mouth was agape when I saw that. Well, it's the same story down in Lake Powell. The waters, due to the drought, have started to recede. And it has revealed the remains of a vehicle crash. So someone spotted the vehicle, police got there, they were able to retrieve it the rest of the way out of the water, and they speculate that it fell about 600 feet off of a cliff and landed in the lake. There were remains of the driver found inside, but they have not released any of the details as the case is still under investigation. So they're not sure anything else other than the fact that they found it down there. And I just keep thinking, like, what if we hadn't been in a drought? Like, how long would that have been down there if this had been like a good water year or something? Ugh, haunted lake, so spooky. I feel like I've told you before, but maybe not. I have like a horribly irrational fear of finding a dead body in the water because I had recurring nightmares when I was a child that I found the same guy in the same body of water. Like, I would fall asleep, I'd show up in this nightmare, I'd be like, this again, that dead guy's gonna be over there. And every time I looked, there was that dead guy, and it was the same dead guy every time. So I'm just like, ugh. I have a problem with open bodies of water, okay? I'm a huge baby. That's really what it is. And finally, a McDonald's employee in South Carolina was arrested recently for tattooing a minor in the McDonald's restaurant where he works. So police didn't know anything about this. It was not reported until they came across a video of the incident. So this shows the guy, the employee, wearing gloves, using a tattoo gun in the dining room of the McDonald's on a child. I'm assuming a teenager, so I shouldn't say child, but the thing is that the police are still looking into all of this, and because they're dealing with a minor, they haven't released his age. This kid posted this video, or one of his friends posted this video of him getting tattooed. The police came across it, arrested this guy. Now here's the thing. This guy was already on probation for felony assault, and that charge was down because of a plea agreement from attempted murder. So he went from attempted murder to underage tattoo artist at a McDonald's restaurant. Shoot for the stars, you know, this guy. And that is the litter box. I think it's time for us to have a little bit of fun. Let's look into the toy collection with some sunken treasure. Sunken Treasure is the part of the show where I dig into my toy collection and we play with something awesome! Alright, today I'm going to show you some of my favorite thrift store finds recently. This isn't an area of the thrift store that I usually skip because I never really thought there was anything of interest to me in there. It is the oversized book section at the thrift store. Now, my roommate started going through it because she wanted to find music books. She's gotten really into the piano lately, and I didn't realize how much cool stuff was in there. First of all, she found this How to Draw Goosebumps characters book for $2! which I think is just crazy fun, and I like to imagine they sold this at the Scholastic Book Fair. Oh, you want to draw Slappy the Scary Dummy? There you go. For 2 seconds, I looked over at my monitor to see what the book looked like, and I thought he was flipping the bird. I thought he was just like, ha 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 ha, bird. Anyway, I love Goosebumps. I am trying to collect all of the original Goosebumps. I look for them at every thrift store. Believe it or not, they're pretty hard to track down, and they're expensive if you try to buy them from, like, grifters on the eBay. Oh, look at this weird little bat thing. I don't know what that guy's problem is. So this was really cool. And that same day, she also found this, How to Draw 50 Different Monsters. And this is a nice book because they went through the trouble of licensing a Star Wars character. I could learn how to draw Medusa. I can't draw anything. Ooh, spooky wizard face. We got a shark. Draw yourself a shark. Real good. When the lights come on in the club and you find out who you've been dancing with. Ugh. It's fun to stay at the YMCA. I can't do it. I was going to try to make her do it, but I couldn't figure it out. It's just a Y. Really cool How to Draw Monsters book. And then the other day, she came across this absolute holy grail of material. And this is the reason that I will forever be looking at the oversized book section at the Savers and the thrift stores. This is a Lady Gaga paper doll. 2 paper dolls, 40 outfits, and this is unofficial and unauthorized. This is not even official merch. This is kind of just like fan merch. So here she is. And you could just dress her up however you want. Trying really hard not to punch anything out. You can carry her along there in the egg. Oh, yes, okay, this is what I wanted to show you most of all. The meat dress! They have the meat dress! Just like Arby's promised, we have the meat. I really want to hang on to this and keep it in really good condition so I won't punch it out, but oh my god, do I want to punch it out. Look at her, here she is. All of her awards. Ooh. This is now one of my very most prized possessions because I don't know where you can find it. I'm sure it's online somewhere, but I had never heard of it. I didn't even know about it. I'm a little bummed that there's this big ugly red sticker on it. I gotta figure out how to get it off, and don't tell me Goo Gone because you can't use Goo Gone on paper products. I have ruined some things in my day doing that. So I'm gonna try to like scrape that off with something, but isn't she gorgeous? Meat dress! Meat dress! And that is Sunken Treasure. Alrighty. Let's relive some trauma. What do you say? I think it's time for another Nightcat Classic Tale. Nightcat Classic Tales is the part of the show where I relive something traumatizing that happened to me for your amusement, and this right here is what makes me never want to work in customer service ever again. I don't know what it is about being a customer, but it turns you into monsters. It turns you into absolute monsters. Be nice to service workers, that's all I'm saying. This happened when I was first working in radio. I was making nothing. I was making no money. But I had quit my full-time job so that I could be more available to the radio station, and I basically just took on a ton of different part-time jobs that were flexible, and I was able to balance literally like 3 to 5 jobs at any given time. And one of the things that I was doing to make it by, just because I wanted to work in radio so bad. I was willing to work all those jobs to make it happen. And one of the jobs that I had was being a Lyft driver. And I had my fair share of like awful passengers. There was like a person who got in smelling so bad of like cat pee and cigarettes that it made my car smell like cigarettes and cat pee for a while. I actually got docked on my own reviews because they said it smelled like cigarettes and cat pee. They didn't say cat pee, but they said it smelled like cigarettes. I was like, girl, it was the girl before you. What do you want from me? Ugh. One night, I get called downtown to the Cheers to You bar on Main Street. I go and I pick up the passengers, and as they're getting into the car, they are just face drunk. They are as drunk gets. And the woman gets in, and they didn't give me an address. They didn't have any address in there. They just called for the Lyft. So I asked her, hey, I'm going to put in the address. What's your address? She goes, no, I'm going home. I go, okay, well, where's your home? Just take me home. I need your address, madam. I don't know where your home is. So I was just like, okay, what's your address? And finally, she tells me the address. So I'm about to accept the ride and punch in the address, and she manages in her drunken stupor to cancel the ride. And her drunk ass is in the backseat, and her boyfriend, husband, whatever, is in the passenger seat. I said, oh, looks like you canceled the ride. I'm gonna pull over. Why don't you request the ride again? And since you're already in my car, I'll probably get the request. Well, I didn't get the request. Someone behind me got it. And they was like, all right, well, your driver's right behind you. I can let you out right here on the corner. They'll be here. And they're like, just take us home. And they start screaming at me. I was like, you canceled the ride. And it's like super, you cannot take people off the app. If you take Lyft passengers when you're not in the app, you can get into a lot of trouble. And I needed that job for the money. So I was like, I'm not playing games. You guys got to get out. And he starts screaming at me and tells me that he hopes my family dies, that I'm a huge piece of shit. He gets out and he slams the door so hard that my ears pop. Like the pressure inside the car changed. He threw his whole body into it and he broke my lock. Now my car does not lock properly because of him. To this day, I can't get it fixed. It's like $300. So then he goes around to the back side of my car. He opens up the door and he starts screaming again. And he says, you know what? I'm a liberal, but you're a f***it. And he literally called me the F slur for gays. And I was like, sir, you need to get out of my car. I have a weapon and I don't want to discharge it. Just to really scare him off. And he's like, you're going to shoot me? You're going to shoot me for calling you a f***it? I go, I don't have a firearm, sir. I have pepper spray, and I will use it if you don't get out of my car. So he slams her door as hard as he can. He puts his finger in the window, gives me the bird, and just starts screaming, F you, F you, F you, F you, until I drive away. So I report this incident to Lyft. And I say, this guy broke my lock on my passenger and the rear passenger door. So the total was going to be like $500 to fix my doors. And Lyft was like, yeah, you know, we got a hold of the passenger and he said that he was really sorry. Unfortunately, there's nothing we can do in the way of making him fix your car because we can't prove that he was the one that broke the locks. I was like, are you? So he admitted it. He admitted to everything. But Lyft decided that because I didn't videotape him attacking me because I had the Lyft app open the whole time, I was not able to prove to them he broke it, even though the locks worked fine until he got in my goddamn car. I later met the area manager for Lyft in Salt Lake City, and he looks at me, and we got to talking, and I go, yeah, you guys kind of stiffed me one time when I was driving for you, and I explained what happens, and he goes, yeah, I guess those situations are just tough sometimes. And that was it. That was all I got from Lyft. So unless you're in dire straits and you don't mind thrashing your car, Lyft is a really bad way to make money. Like, if it's your only option, I get it. I wish the best of luck to you. But it will damage your car. Those people can be violent. And the company does not have your back at all. If you expect them to back you or take your side in anything, you are sorely mistaken, buddy. It's not worth it to them. They don't care what happens to you. As an independent contractor, you just have to take it on the chin, buddy, and leave. So anyway, my favorite part about that whole thing, though, is that the guy had to preface it with, I'm a liberal. And he thought that that was a way to justify his use of the F word against me. I'm like, girl, I don't know who you think you are. I don't know what makes you think that you can wave a Kamala Biden pro-America rainbow, we accept all kinds flag, and then use that language? Who do you think you are? And you know what? Guess what? I get to use that word for sure. Because that's my word. It's my people. My people have been oppressed. I get to use whatever words I want. You, heterosexual white man, don't get to say anything to me. Sit down. That's enough out of you. And that is another Nightcat Classic Tale. Alright, let's find out who DB Cooper is. It's time for the CATSPIRACY Corner. The CATSPIRACY Corner is the part of the show where we go through a conspiracy and I tell you where it started, kind of what's going on with it, it. Not because I believe in conspiracy theory. Well, not because I believe in all conspiracy theories, but just because conspiracy theories are fun. And this is one of my favorite cases. We're going to talk about D.B. Cooper. All right. So for those of you that don't know who D.B. Cooper is, we're going to go through the origin story in the Great American Conspiracies book. One of my favorite books. It's very fun. On the evening of November 24th, 1971, a man calling himself Dan Cooper, later to be known as D.B. Cooper, hijacked an airplane, demanded $200,000 and 4 parachutes, which he received. So the plane ends up landing in Seattle. He lets all of the passengers off. They give him his ransom demands of $200,000 and 4 parachutes. And then he makes the crew stay on board and fly him to Mexico. That's his plan. I'm going to make it to Mexico with this plane. The thing is, though, about 20 to 30 minutes from the time they take off, D.B. Cooper opens up the side of the airplane and jumps. Now, a lot of people are like, well, he probably is Air Force or military or paratrooper. Like, who would demand parachutes if they aren't familiar with parachuting or jumping or anything like that? The thing is, though, that when he jumped, there was freezing rain in the sky. He didn't have a helmet, and it was pitch black when he jumped. So, like, no experienced paratrooper would jump under those conditions. So this guy is like an amateur. And for the longest time, no one has known who he was. Because when he jumped, that was the last time anyone saw, supposedly, Dan Cooper. Almost all of the money, the $200,000, has vanished, except in 1980, an 8-year-old boy found $6,000 in rotting $20 bills lying along the banks of the Columbia River. So this kid finds all this money, and they look at the serial numbers, and the serial numbers match the sequence of bills that were given to D.B. Cooper in his ransom demands. But no one knows what happened to D.B. Cooper or the rest of the money. Enter the new conspiracy theory. So, there is a very fun conspiracy theory that I love as to the identity of D.B. Cooper. Tommy Wiseau. Here's what this guy looks like. He's crazy. Tommy Wiseau, he wrote and directed and starred in what is considered the Citizen Kane of bad movies. Like, literally the worst movie ever made, called The Room. Now, Wiseau, he plays the lead, and it is comical how bad he is.
You are lying. I never hit you. You are tearing me apart, Lisa!
His goal was to make the greatest drama love story ever seen on American cinema. And he self-financed this entire movie. He was like this eccentric millionaire who made all of his money allegedly selling clothes. So his co-star in the movie ended up writing a book called The Disaster Artist, which was turned into a movie. I hosted the premiere of that movie, by the way, in our local market. There's my Tommy Wiseau, get up. They talk about in The Disaster Artist, Tommy Wiseau kept his origin story very quiet. He used to tell people when they asked where he was from, because he had this like thick European accent of some kind and no one could tell what it was. And everyone would ask, so where are you from? And he would just say, oh, I'm from New Orleans. He used to say, I'm American through and through. And their place of origin might be exactly the sort of thing they're trying to cover up if they stole $200,000. D.B. Cooper allegedly also had a very strange, almost European-sounding accent. Tommy Wiseau is about 5'10". Witnesses said that D.B. Cooper was about 5'9", 5'10", same height. D.B. Cooper took off with $200,000. Tommy Wiseau shows up somewhere in like the 70s, 80s, 90s in San Francisco, and he starts selling bird whistles on the beach. He starts buying little businesses, and he makes enough money from those to go buy clothing stores. He makes enough money off those to make The Room. But where did he get all that money initially to buy his bird whistles? It was the $200,000 minus $6,000, I guess. So between the weird accent, the vague origin story, the mysterious way under which he got his money, also, his body is a little weird and lumpy, and people think that that happened because when he fell and he landed in the parachute, he was injured really badly and just never got his bones and stuff mended properly, but I think that is kind of a stretch. Now, as far as timing goes, Tommy Wiseau claims that he was born in 1969. because, you know, he wants to be a big Hollywood star, and you can't do that if you get old, apparently. That's his whole thought process. He says he was born in 1969. More likely, he was born somewhere around 1955, but even then, that makes him like 16 years old around the time that D.B. Cooper hijacks that plane. So, I guess it's not outside the realm of possibility, but everyone said that D.B. Cooper looked like he was about 30. So unless Tommy Wiseau put himself like in a weird beard and like stage makeup, which, if you know anything about Tommy Wiseau, that's not out of the question, I guess. He would have been, like, way too young to be D.B. Cooper. Also a fun fact for you, the name Dan Cooper, the one that the hijacker gave everybody, which is obviously not his real name, that name came from Dan Cooper Comics, which is a comic that ran in Belgium, and it was very popular over there, but it never actually translated to English and made its way to the States. So the name Dan Cooper probably came from Europe, and that's probably where Tommy Wiseau had access to it, grew up on it, it loved the adventures, and he's like, that's what I'm gonna do one day. I'm gonna be an adventurer named Dan Cooper. There are mountains of evidence suggesting that it was not Tommy Wiseau, but I still think that that's a very fun story, so I choose to believe it, because this is America, and apparently you can believe anything that you want to, and no one gets to tell you any different. Tommy Wiseau is D.B. Cooper. Can't change my mind. And that is another episode of Nightcap with Nightcat. Episode number 31. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like this video, comment on this video, please share it with your friends. If you know a Lady Gaga fan who needs to see the Lady Gaga book, share episode 31 with them. If you're looking for something to do and you live in the Salt Lake City area or you're visiting, check out the NIGHTCAT True Crime Walking Tours. Visit nightcatshow.com and take a look, see if you can get one scheduled. They are so fun. And if you are a member of our Patreon, patreon.com/nightcatshow, you get $10 off all of our tour tickets. So go join our Patreon now at either $3 or $5 and save $10 on your NIGHTCAT True Crime Walking Tour tickets. nightcatshow.com to check out more about the crime tours. They are so fun. I have absolutely loved, let me tell you, just taking everyone around and showing them places. I have started writing more tours. I wrote that big business proposal. I have been sending it out left and right to anyone whose email I can get a hold of, trying to get anyone to at least give me a meeting for a loan. It's not going super great, but we're working on it. I'm getting there. Don't worry. I'm hoping very, very soon that we'll have a van, and I can take you around the city in a van and show you all the crazy things that are not walkable, but still really fun. So just keep an eye out on all of that. nightcatshow.com is the place to go. All right, until next week, bye! Bye!